Hey, thanks for joining us this morning, or afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And My Body, My Health, My Responsibility. My name is Cheryl Prince. I am a holistic nutritionist and a retired nurse. And I'm super, super excited to be bringing my guest today, Krystal Stewart, with me. And Krystal has quite had this exact topic going on. It's my body, something's going on. Mm-hmm. It's my health. The problem with Krystal, you unfortunately were one of many, many people who developed Lyme's disease and was misdiagnosed for a very long time. Yes. And from what I understand in my studies, when you're misdiagnosed, which is somewhere around 75% of the people with Lyme's disease, are misdiagnosed within the critical time period. And I think it's like 12 weeks for the infestation to set in. And when I say infestation, that's going into your cellular level, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, that's setting myself up for how do I clear this out of myself? Right. And then you've gone through, taking the responsibility away from the medical system and taking it on yourself, because I love my medical system for broken bones, for heart attacks, for things that are very, very much an emergency situation. But one of the things that becomes really relevant is that it's broken for chronic long-term conditions. Right. And it's also broken in the aspect that we want to talk a lot about, say, for instance, the pharmaceutical route. And sometimes when we have new disorders, the pharmaceutical route is a hit and miss. Right. So I want you to talk first. We'll go into this and talk a little bit about, I'm just trying to get my screen to go to the right place so that we can all be shining happy faces on here. And talk about your experience. So you were bitten by a tick. Right, yeah. And how long did it take you to find out that you were bitten and convince the system?
So 2015, had a classic bullseye rash on my collarbone. Originally I was like, is this like a ringworm or what is this? A quick Google search was like, oh, it could be Lyme disease and the importance of getting antibiotic treatment right away. So I did go to my doctor and she said, it was a quick brush off. I didn't have the awareness, obviously I do now, and I would have been such a different advocate for myself if I had known what I know now. But right away she said, oh, it's probably just a spider bite. You'll be fine. And we don't have Lyme disease in Canada, which couldn't be further from the truth. So very hard, expensive lesson, because I walked out that day missing that little window, to get treatment. And then it ended up taking 2 years. And I basically lived in a merge. It was constantly feeling like I was having heart attacks, or that I was being electrocuted, or paralysis, all kinds of crazy stuff. And they just kept saying, you've got chronic fatigue syndrome, or take these anti-anxiety medications. So it was like, I kept just trying to, I was like, my family doctor wouldn't listen. So I just kept making appointments with all these different doctors. Like, well, somebody listen to me. Something's going on. Something's not right. I know my body. And every single one of them, it was like, it seemed to be the answer was like, here's some anti-anxiety medication. And I'm like, it's not that. And so it got to a point where I just felt like I was going crazy because nobody was hearing me. Yeah. And I just kept getting worse and worse. And the list of symptoms kept getting longer and longer. And it was just, it was crazy.
I was looking at the list of symptoms. There's actually no part of the body that Lyme disease doesn't affect. Yeah. And it seems to be something so misdiagnosed that I could not possibly. So I love the brain, and everybody knows I'm a big advocate about the brain. But the brain is only a central computer system for every stimuli and everything that's going on. And in the middle of the brain, we have that amazing gland, the pituitary gland, which is the master gland for every endocrine system. But if you've got inflammation, and you've got things going on in your cell, and like we discussed, Lyme hangs out in the cell.
It does, yeah.
Like that's crazy in itself that we couldn't get it diagnosed faster. Right. But in saying that, healthcare and doctors are about 15 to 20 years behind. Yeah. By the time they've gone through university, they've already, medical books are already 5 to 10 years behind. Yes. And in alternative medicine, or where I've been focusing on, I've had to say, in-depth into it. So it's almost like Lyme's disease becomes a mitochondria disorder.
Yeah, it definitely affects the cell. It seems just so intricate, like it's just crazy. The importance of the cell and the mitochondria, the more you understand. I feel like most people that have experienced Lyme almost like have a PhD in all things health and healing, because you do really have to become your own advocate. And and that is the thing when we're talking about my body, my health, my responsibility. I mean, if I were to show you over the last 5 years, everything I've tried, because it's just like you would get to a point where you'd rather just die, because you're just like, I can't live like this. It's just the worst thing to experience, all the things that you go through in your body, and trying to explain it to other people when you can like look healthy, or just like even the emotional aspect of what you have to deal with is it's such a lonely journey, and it's terrifying. And then, I'd also passed it on to my son congenitally. And so he was actually on life support for a whole month when he was a baby, because it was shutting down all his organs too. And that's before I even had confirmation that I had Lyme disease.
I did not know you could pass it gestationally.
Yeah.
I was because a lot of autoimmune, you actually clear up during pregnancy,
right?
Which was the assumption that you wouldn't be passing this parasite of a sort along to your child. That must have just added to what am I broken and no answers. Like, wow, what a journey that must be. So you took responsibility. You said, bugger this.
Yeah.
Excuse my language, but you said, I'm going to take charge of it.
Right.
And, when we met, we met a few months ago when she, through everything that's going on, Krystal moved to our community, became part of a group of women that I belong to for support system, because we're always looking for support within our settings, no matter what it is. And because that's part of our responsibility of being good moms as well, is making sure we reach out for good support. And then when you have something going on in your own health, you need extra support systems.
Right, creating a village.
Creating that village, creating that community, which is what I love about Black Oxygen. We are a bit of very much a community, helping you sort through these puzzle pieces. So your puzzle piece, you took responsibility. Right. Can you tell me some of the expensive treatments?
Yes.
And they were expensive, weren't they?
Yeah.
Like that you have gone through to gain the to take responsibility for your health, because you reached out outside.
Yeah. I had 2 stem cell transplants in California. Went to Mexico, just outside of Tijuana, and spent a few weeks in the hospital there and did hypothermia. Each treatment, you're looking at like 2-week Lyme programs that are about $30,000 each. So not cheap, it was a lot of remortgaging homes and just really trying to figure out the solution, because it was just, I couldn't mother, my mom retired to help take care of my children. So it was a point where I was very sick, couldn't swallow, couldn't barely get out of my bed. And then trauma and stress is such a big trigger. And when you have Lyme, it's just feels like you're unable, your ability to adapt and overcome is it just wasn't what I was used to. So I've learned, tried all these treatments to be well for a while, and then just to go backwards. And so it was just very, very discouraging to spend so much money and to be well short term, and just to not know if they're ever going to get better. And if that's do I have to spend $30,000 every time? And when the funds run out, then it's very, very terrifying.
It's funny that you say that it costs so much money to look after your health, because everyone assumes that when we live in Canada that we have free health care.
Right.
And we have free health care for heart attacks, we have free health care for cancer, we have free health care for diabetes, but not the treatment of the diabetes, but we'll have free health care for the adverse chronic conditions that develop while we are sick with something that we have to seek out ourselves.
There's so much missing. Yeah. Once you start to understand all the pieces, so that's been kind of my passions, really, how does one heal, and connecting all the puzzle pieces. But, addressing the heavy metals was a big thing I was missing before. So, and then ended up finding out through testing wow, you are in the danger zone for lead and cadmium. And so it's hard to heal from Lyme if you don't address the heavy metals. And then you got to address the gut, and you got to, like, there's just so many layers. And then there's the emotional component, understanding how trauma, childhood trauma, all these limiting beliefs and things can hold in, the emotional body, and the trapped emotions, and how those play an impact. So there's so many layers to healing and health. But even, like, why I love black oxygen, because I remember you gave me a sample, and right away I could feel my energy. And with Lyme, it's like that's a huge one, is the brain fog. The energy is just like the lack of energy. That was something I noticed right away. I was like, what is this stuff? So I originally just ordered some from you just to try. And then I remember I could feel it. And then one day I'm like, try this to my husband. And my husband right away was like, what the heck is that stuff you gave me? I feel so great. I have so much energy. I was like, okay, that's a good sign. But understanding how depleted our soils are, and even how dehydrated we are because we're not getting the right quality of water that's missing the right structure. And there's so many things, right?
Well, I want to go into the concept of what having a chronic condition does. Mm-hmm. And so, as you know, I'm always about how it affects our mental health and the anxiety. And because when your body's bombarded with something, you are in fight and flight all the time. Yeah. So you're always there. So I like that the black oxygen has the adaptogenic properties to calm you down. Right. And without them, you wouldn't be able to make the calming response. Right. Or sleep or the other things that go along with the disorder. Mm-hmm. But it being a mitochondria intercellular disorder, knowing that solvent goes in there and cleans up the cell is kind of amazing, because you have to constantly be cleaning out that cell. As I found out with having viral meningitis and viral shingles, that sticks in my cells too. So I knew that this was clearing that out, and I started feeling better myself. Right. So, it's knowing that the mitochondria is being nourished, because I guess when you're also got a cellular thing, the cell in itself is more rigid. Because it's trying to hold out pathogens and bring, okay, I'm bombarded. Like you said, it's not just now I've got a pathogen. I've also got leaky gut going on. Yep. I also have brain health and fog going on from die-off. And what do I eat? We were having a conversation about this too. It's like, everybody talks diet. But I'm a nutritionist. Yeah. And even with my own health, it was the black oxygen. And even I ate a clean diet, it was the black oxygen that was the missing link. Right. So now you're not going to hyperbaric chambers every 2 weeks. Right, which is very expensive. There's these things this is what I'm really excited about, is that, there was a point that we were spending $800 on these Lyme protocols, and we'd have a counter filled with pills, and I'd be taking up to 40 pills a day. And I can't tell you that I noticed any difference, but it wasn't sustainable. And who wants to swallow 40 pills a day? It's just... And it's not just that, but it's break down the liver. Totally. You got to break that down. You got to throw it in the right place. This stuff goes right over to the blood-brain barrier. It starts working right away. It's already having digestive issues. So I'm like, how is this even properly breaking down? Am I just paying for a really expensive tea? These things, So what I really love about black oxygen is just the versatility of how I'm able to replace more of that, a lot of things that were on my counter, and that the fact that you can put it, I've been even using it under my armpits, at the mats on my armpits to help pull out heavy metals from the armpits. I've made the foot soaks. Yeah. I have been experiencing with, because I, do colon hydrotherapy a couple times a month. Even I've experimented with coffee enemas, but replacing this with coffee. That's interesting, because I talked to a medical practitioner who is actually on the black oxygen team. And she was mentioning to me that there are a lot of people doing fulvic colonoscopy. Therapy? Yeah. Colonics. Colonics, that's the word. I should know it. But it gets me mixed up with my medical thing as colonoscopies, which is a completely different thing. But holding on to it and that. And I'm also hearing people doing somewhat enemas and, making sure that they're drawing the parasites out of their system, because when that die-off is happening, that gets reabsorbed into our blood-brain barrier, and we're having to deal with those issues too.
Right.
Now, somebody was telling me that the full moon aspect is a great time to be doing that kind of work, because the parasites are moving, they're everything's reacting to the moon, like we know babies come out, working emerge, people kind of have other things going on.
Right.
Could be parasites and all.
Totally.
We're so behind in how the brain operates.
Yeah.
But I love that you took the responsibility and the openness to try all these things and to find something that is relatively simple.
Right.
I mean, you can do this in your own house.
Yeah.
You don't have to take it down to Tijuana. You don't have to uproot the family.
A lot cheaper, that's for sure.
A lot cheaper.
And it's given me more hope. Like if this, long term is gonna, if I'm noticing effects within a few months, like what's gonna be in 6 months or a year, and that's exciting, because there's got to be a way. I'm just like, in my heart knows, like there's got to be a way to heal. Like there's, because we're constantly, I just never want to, I call it post-traumatic doctor disorder, because that's what it got to. It was a point where I'm terrified to talk to a doctor, because that feeling of feeling dumb and not heard, and like it's in your head. What an awful energy to walk into.
Oh, you're not kidding. I have to
doubt yourself, right? Yeah, post-traumatic doctor disorder.
I've never heard that, but it's
not
true.
to say that there aren't some great doctors out there, but I think there needs to be more integration, where, because it's just, there's so much missing. It's not, the answer is just pharmaceuticals. There's so much missing with food and your environment and your gut, and like you said, the mitochondria and the parasites and the heavy metals, there's just so much missing. I feel like we're so far behind. Yeah, and addressing the trauma, and even changing my environment. Like I lived in a community that I didn't resonate with, and it was a very high stress. It's turning into quite a city, and I didn't feel part of community or connection, and I'm a real human connection person. It really lacked that, and sometimes I feel like maybe that was because it reminds me of like that fishbowl analogy, when you got there's a fish, and then a fish, you have to clean out the tank, right?
Yeah.
And I felt like once we made the move to Vancouver Island, I have felt so much better, and I thought, wow, even just cleaning up the environment, because I'm 3 minutes from the ocean, I feel and vibrant in a community, and part of it's been easier to build so many layers to healing and health.
There is, and it's not just black oxygen, but black oxygen really is
a great tool.
It's the missing link to be able to help your body adapt to the stress, to everything that's going on, to be able to clean it out. But you're right, it's diet, it's your ability to sleep, it's your surroundings, other people around you, to make sure that you're all on the same thing. Because I know myself, I can pick up the phone and it'll be like somebody who will send a trigger, and I'll be like, there goes the rest of my day. Like I'm gone. And it's hard, especially when you have chronic conditions. To calm yourself down, to bring that GABA neurotransmitter to go like, oh, okay, I'm good again. But the responsibility, I love it. I like that. Every component of healing, we should be setting it out. And I've never heard post-traumatic doctor disorder.
I just made it
Great one to make up, because I'm sure a lot of us feel that way. And I'd like to open up the floor in case anyone has a question, or if you're open to that, because you're the one who's traveled this journey. But I do want to say one thing first. And I think this is really, really important concept that a lot of people don't realize. They'll go like, oh, I've been on this stuff for a week. How come I don't feel better yet? Or how come I'm not feeling amazing like Cheryl did after one drop, and she kind of went in there. But, in our field of working, it's for every year that you're carrying something, it's at least a month of you being able to rid yourself of it. So for myself, I had postpartum depression for 30 years. Yeah, my kids were already adults when we were diagnosed, or when we clicked in, but it's because I was malnourished for 30 years. But I didn't have the right
nutrients.
The component. And the minute I added the missing nourishment, it was that, because I worked on everything else.
Yes.
And that was a 30-year struggle.
Right.
So,
well, some people want that quick fix, right? It's just give me the quick fix now. And even with just Lyme, I knew people that were eradicated and were complete remission from stem cells. I wasn't one. It helped me for a little while, and then every body is different. And I knew some people that went to the same place in Mexico, and they got their lives back, whereas a few of us weren't. And they were like, "What's wrong with me? Why didn't it work for me?" But every body is so different and has its own layers of stuff, right? So I think consistency and patience are really important. And just trusting that the journey and the process of sometimes maybe it's just meant to lead you to something different, but the patience and consistency is just really important. You can't just, sometimes if somebody might feel it right away. Like my husband felt it right away, and he noticed. And sometimes maybe it'll take a month for somebody, maybe a week, right? But I don't know. Everybody's different.
Yeah, 7 months. And my husband said one day he came home and he's like, "Man, I went 2 weeks without that stuff. I'm putting it right back in my," because he's in and out of town all the time, right? So he's always got a suitcase packed. And he's like, "I'm putting that in there now." But I've never seen him do that. So yeah, it's not maybe even how do I feel while I'm on it. How does my body adjust? Right. And how do I feel when I'm off it? Right. Or that's the side effects that we need to be also talking about. But again, anybody have any questions for Krystal? Sonia.
Hi, Sonia.
Hi, Krystal. Thanks for sharing your story.
Thanks for listening.
Amazing. Yeah, no problem. You said a lot of things that I have questions about, but I'm really curious when you talked about the full moon. And go back, you guys were talking really fast. I'm trying to take notes. But how does the full moon react with parasites or whatever I don't know.
A cycle, like an egg cycle. They're correlating something to do with the moon, right? And the cycle of like the new life,
a new life cycle. So there is nothing in life that does not go within the moon cycle. So for instance, whale come in and they will come to the shores and start their pod. They'll lay their eggs and then they'll come in on the full moon and fertilize. You see this in quite a few species.
Super fascinating.
That our cycle through the moon. So even human beings have a certain cycle that is affected by the moon as well. And how to explain it? The tides, the gravity, the light, the 28 days that it takes for a parasite to go from laying its eggs in a certain area of your body to hatching to moving its way through.
Yeah. There's so many different kinds of parasites. So many.
Yeah. I know I had one that I had realized from a live hair analysis. And one day it felt like, because that one hid my appendix. It felt like I had appendicitis for a couple days. And then and I'm very, very in tune to my body. Yeah. Having to be. I could feel it leave, and sure enough, it was in the toilet. And that took about 3 days from one transition to the other. And then I had to get a cleanse going, because I knew it had laid its eggs, and I'm going to go through it again this full moon. So, sorry, one story.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have another one there? I won't talk this time.
No, it's okay. Also, you mentioned that, first of all, how long have you been on Boo, Krystal?
Oh, myself. I think about 6 weeks.
6 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or 2 months. About 2 months. Yeah, about 2 months. So it was about March, April, May, June. Oh, maybe it is closer to 3 months. Yeah. I think it was March. Yeah.
How long did it take before you really start to notice a difference?
The first week, my energy, I noticed right away. It was and my husband right away. And that's huge for me because I'm usually always tired. It's been such a struggle with Lyme. It's just going to bed at 8 o'clock and waking up at 7 and feeling like I never slept. So feeling more of like that alertness and just like, wow, this is like amazing, because it just, no matter, I've tried so many different things and it just, I never felt like that level of energy. So that's been pretty cool. Now I have to have it. I can feel it if I skip a day. I'm so tired, but then I have it and I'm like, wow. So I've been kind of really watching, like even just having my brother and sister-in-law over for the weekend, and I gave them a cup and they're just, whoa, just really observing other people too. It's like, okay, it's not just me. Yeah.
How often do you take it? Once, twice, 3 times a day?
Typically one. Sometimes it's a bit hard to do two, like I forget, but it's my morning routine. Like I'll actually mix it with a cup of tea, like a herbal tea. I have like this chai nettle tea that I really love, and then I'll just drop a bit in there so it kind of gives a little bit more flavor. So that's kind of like my way I start my morning on an empty stomach. It's just like the first thing I do when I wake up. I put the kettle on, and I have my cup in the morning, start my day off with it. And then sometimes like I'll have a box of the tablets in my car, and then I have, I'm not normally a bottled water advocate, but in this case, sometimes just so I remember, I'll have a little stash of bottled water so I can just, if I'm on the go and in the car, busy while I'm picking up kids or something, I'll just throw a tablet in a bottle of water and then have that in the afternoon just to sustain me for the evening. Yeah. Yeah. And then I do the foot soaks with it. Like I try and do that at least once a week. Yeah. Yeah, the baths were getting a little bit too messy, so I started just to do the soaks, and then I would just put it under my underarms, and just to let that pull stuff out, and then just rinse it off with the shower head kind of thing.
So when you do the underarm, do you make a paste and do that?
That's right. Yeah, so I just do a teaspoon of the boo powder and then a teaspoon of the baking soda, and then with a little bit of water, and then just the paste, and I just load it up from my armpits. Because that's a big part with it. Having, I still use natural deodorant, but I find like even just that's such a place of sweat, right? And heavy metals come out a lot there. So I just to put that there and have it pull out. I feel like it's more of an intuitive thing. I just
that's good. How long do you leave it there?
I have like about a half an hour. Yeah, 20 minutes, half an hour till it's like dry and kind of crusty, and then I just like wash it off. So, but I imagine it like pulling, just sucking out all the gross stuff. I'm just like, I imagine that's what it's doing, and then I'm like, bye-bye. Well, you don't smell, and we're pretty close to each other. Perfect. Suck out all that smell.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, my pleasure. Anybody else have any questions?
Thank you so much for sharing. I was just wondering, hi. I was just wondering, have you started your kids on it at all yet?
I have bathed them in that, but I have not given them it to drink yet. But I do think that's the next thing I'm going to have to try. And I think I need to get creative with it, because I know my daughter tried to sip and thought it was disgusting. So I'm like, well, I think I need to just try and maybe, I don't know, maybe there's like a fruity tea or something I can try.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
What about a smoothie? Do you drink smoothies?
I drink smoothies, but I've never put it in a smoothie. But I have bathed them in it. Yeah, I definitely bathed them in it. But like I said, that the bath was just it was just black everywhere. You're like, So my daughter, my son's only 4. My daughter's 9. So when I have the foot bath, like she'll be like, can I have one too? So I've given her a few of those too. But I keep thinking I'd like to try and get them on it somehow.
I think especially with your son having had the gestational limes, I'd be looking at a small dose to get.
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah. So I did some heavy metal cleansing with him and light therapy, Chinese medicine. He's doing great. But I think it could be very valuable for kids.
My daughter likes it in chocolate, like cashew milk or something like that. Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't put much in. I just put a pinch in. And she's been asking for it lately too. She's noticed her acne is really improving. So.
Wow. Okay. Thanks for sharing. That's a good idea. There we all help think outside the box, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say I'm a big believer in empowering your children with something like this.
Agreed.
And so let them take a little pinch and put it in their beverage.
Yeah.
Then they're under control of
Yeah.
right? How much
Totally.
goes in, how it goes in, how they
Yeah.
store it, and
Awesome.
they get to be the director of their
Yeah.
new experience then.
Yeah, that's perfect. I know I've done that with the baths. My son loves to, like, I would mix it with baking soda and some Epsom salts. And he just would get so excited. I get to have a black bath. And he just thinks it's so funny that it's black and it's so his dirty bath. But I'm like, it's not dirty. It's really good stuff. But yeah, the kids get it. That's a good idea.
Yeah. I get the bathtub being a mess. Like if when you use the washer, like don't look at the bathtub.
No, totally. And then you get splatters on the wall or something. You're like, oh, I'm black. Yeah, that's okay.
But it is worth it.
Oh, of course. Yeah. But I think even just having it in your feet and is just as powerful, or in the armpits or whatever. But
and even in the palm of your hands too, traditional Chinese medicine, right? Like,
yeah, all the acupuncture points. Yeah.
One more question, sorry. Did you find you went through any detox when you first started at all?
Oh, yeah, I think it's an ongoing thing because I have another a product that I really love. It's a heavy metal cleanse that I'm on at the same time. So those are my two. So sometimes I feel like there was a point there I was having really bad headaches. And I was like, oh, because I don't normally get them. So I was like, okay, I think this is detox. So the next day I didn't take anything just to kind of give myself a day. And then I felt fine the next day. So sometimes it's just like really reading your body, like, or letting it have a break. Because I feel like sometimes it just gets overwhelmed. It just needs an off day. So I think just listening to your body, because the headaches is usually my telltale sign of like detoxing, because it's like they're pretty intense. So yeah, that's kind of my sign. Yeah.
I like that you listen to your body, and I think that goes right back to it's my body and it's my health. I'm not going to take something if I know that it's going to affect my body somehow until I've researched it myself, because it's my responsibility.
Yeah.
I don't do well pharmaceutically. So
no, I don't
that's why
either.
I've had to be such an advocate as well. I think everybody needs to advocate for their health. I do want to say that black oxygen does not cure. We do not treat. We do not diagnose. We look at supporting the body with something that we feel is missing within our system. And it's very important that we bring that out to people we're talking to. And then I'm just going to say, what do you have to lose, right? I mean,
well, reading the research, reading the research is pretty phenomenal. Like I before I do anything, I read I've spent so much money on things that, it's just crazy that did not work. And it's just like, so now it's like I really research, I have to comprehend and really wrap my head around it, because there were so many times that the doctor said, do this protocol, do this. And it's just, so yeah, getting to a point where I'm going to try and find something that works for me. I'm going to listen more to my body, my intuition, instead of constantly giving my power away and then nothing working and then being another $5,000, another $10,000, $30,000. Like, it's just at a point where I've had to get creative, and I feel like this is just very cost effective for the amount of things that you get in it. The fact that you're replacing all your trace minerals, all your electrolytes, antioxidants. But I mean, like, I had all those separately on my counter before. So to me, I like that. And then I was going to hyperbaric chamber to get my oxygen every 2 weeks. And that was $120 per session, just to get that, because I know the importance of oxygen in healing too. So the fact that this delivers 45% more oxygen to your cells, I was like, hey, that's totally awesome, because there's not a lot of products that can do that. So without actually going into like an oxygen chamber.
Yes, that's the thing that I've heard from a few people that are going to doing for traumatic brain injuries.
Yeah.
Anything that has to do with needing to get quick oxygen into the system. The hyperbaric chambers are it. But then you desat down as your body doesn't get to hold on to the saturation of it, because like I said, I don't know how long it takes for a cell to die off, but depending on what the cell, it could be 24 hours, it could be 36, it could be 72, it could be a couple weeks. And when it's your red blood cells, that's carrying the oxygen to the tissues. Awesome.
Yeah, it helped with circulation a lot, because I had to have my appendix removed in September, which really set me back with Lyme, and I was doing much better. And the circulation just was so messed up since then. But ever since taking, that's definitely another thing I've noticed since taking black oxygen was my circulation is better.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think that oxygen in there makes a difference with the healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming and talking about this. And I want to thank you guys for coming and listening to Krystal's story. And, you know, Krystal is not on Facebook, but she is on Instagram. And you can reach out to her there and absolutely take into, you don't mind people reaching out to you?
No.
Sharing
Of course. Yeah, my Instagram handle's here, HEAR, the number 2, and then heal, HEAL, here to heal. So I try and share as much knowledge as I've learned along the way and all the different modalities that I've tried, and really try and connect people with the right tools and resources to heal. And I do that, you know, just out of pure just passion of wanting to share health and hope really for a healthier future, because so many of us are sick today, and we need to make a change, and we need to try and find the answers where it's not, you know, costing $30,000.
Absolutely.
There's got to be a way. So yeah, trying to find those and share health and healing and hope and all things like that. Yeah.
You know, just on a parting note, I'm going to say one thing is that I actually am pretty excited about what's happened in the world in the last 2 years with the shutdown, because people are taking more responsibility for their health. May it be that they don't have 2 hours of commute every day, or that they're home and they're sitting in front of their computers, or they're Andrew Huberman is a neuroscientist. I listened to his class free. I mean, he's a neuroscientist at Stanford University, 2 o'clock in the morning for my time here, and he's giving a free lecture. We are so blessed to have so much free information for us to take responsibility for our health.
Absolutely.
And then ask our practitioners, because I never like to hate, I hate my doctor. I mean, I love to work with them, even if their eyes roll when they see me coming, you know, because they want to be informed as much as we want to be informed.
Right.
And they feel bad when they can't help us, just the same way as we feel bad when we're not being helped. So, you know, love to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, let's get our journeys going. Let's take responsibility. And I really appreciate everyone from joining us today. Have an amazing week.
Thanks, guys.
We will see you next week on another great subject that we're going to be talking about.